All right, so welcome back to the Joe & Co podcast. Today we have on Dr. Craig Farney, and man, we're going to get deep today.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you said you were talking to us a little bit before that you've actually visited several other podcasts, and we were both on the one for Nick,
right?
And I really enjoyed it. That's kind of what gave me the idea, like maybe I could try to do it. So
yeah. It's fun. I like having conversations.
Yeah.
Well, my cousin and I, in our office, we actually have a podcast studio also. And one of the things that we found interesting is we were just talking. We didn't have it recording, but we had the headphones on and the mic's going, and it's like it stimulated conversation somehow.
It does.
It's like you could have a different conversation because you have headphones on that you don't have otherwise.
Right.
And we talked for like 2 hours sitting there with headphones on and mics on that you're not recording. I'm like, oh, this is weird. Maybe I should try this at home.
Right. Have some of your customers come in and put on headphones like they're going to be a guest.
Exactly.
Like, no, we're not actually recording.
Yeah, we're just getting to know you.
Right.
Does he do a regular podcast there at that studio?
Yeah. We're actually developing 3 different ones. So we did a podcast together called Docere Digest. And now we've kind of split off. He's continuing. My cousin that's the founder and owner of the clinic I'm in, he's still continuing on with Docere Digest. I have another cousin who's doing, what is this called? Soul Quest or something. And then mine's called Mind Shift.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Mind Shift.
Yes.
Not exactly what you think when you have a chiropractor on.
No, I'm not your typical chiropractor.
Right.
In fact, our clinic is not your typical chiropractic clinic for sure. One of the things that you can go ahead and put on here in my logo for Mind Shift. This is one of my favorite parts. I've got Mind in one like font and logo, and then I've got Shift, and I actually have the F as a thinner, different font. So if you take the F out, you get what?
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with that quite a bit because I'm gonna have like the F not show up or be like a fuse for an F bomb, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
That is cool. Mm-hmm. So normally we don't have. I mean, all of our previous guests have. I don't think any of them had ever been on a podcast except for us interviewing each other. And so we start off with just some stupid icebreaker stuff that's kind of fun.
Sure. You gonna ask me about my favorite food?
I am. Let's start with that one.
My favorite food is probably Mexican food, and right now one of my favorite things. There's a Mexican restaurant out west called Puerto Vallarta, and they have a chicken mole enchilada. You know what mole is, right? It's a chocolate sauce.
Ah, okay.
So imagine a chocolate flavored sauce. It's not the super sweet. It has kind of just a chocolate sense to it on top of an enchilada.
It's good.
It is, yeah.
Is that same place we went to that one night?
Yes.
Over by Jerry's, kind of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Down the street from Jerry's.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that place is good.
It really is. I don't think I got that dish, but I...
No.
Yeah, they got some really good food.
Yeah, first time I ever tried mole was actually in Mexico, and they're like, "Are you sure you know what you're ordering?" I like going to the restaurants. We're like, "Do you know what ceviche is before we bring it to you?"
Yeah.
Okay, so what about your favorite movie?
It's either going to be Braveheart or Gladiator. I like those two.
Yeah. Braveheart it took me like, I didn't see it till I was an adult.
Right.
Even though it had been around forever, and it was a pretty cool movie.
My favorite line in that movie is "Everybody dies, but not everybody truly lives."
Yeah. I like that.
That's good.
Yeah. So what about your pet peeves? What is some pet peeves you got?
Pet peeves. One we already talked about. I don't like that we can't have conversations. That we can't just go, here's what I think, here's what I feel, here's what I believe. And somebody else goes, well, here's what I think, here's what I feel, here's what I believe. And you can go, wow, that's interesting. It's different from me. I can learn from it as opposed to I got to argue with you and prove that I'm right and you're wrong. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves.
Right.
I agree with that.
Especially in our political climate today. It's like we're so extreme. It doesn't work. It doesn't help our society.
Right. I think the conversations that you're talking about, you pretty much have to check the ego on both sides in order to even have them.
Absolutely.
to learn about, take it into an educational moment instead of I need to battle for the cause.
Well, it's funny because there's something in our human nature that I think when we hear an opposing view, we have to defend ours, because you have to justify why you believe what you believe in your own mind more than even with somebody else. And I think that's part of the problem is you go, well, if you're not, to me, if you're fully solid in your own belief, you're open to hear other viewpoints. When you're not, then you can't handle somebody else's viewpoint.
I've actually had the experience where somebody was sharing their viewpoints on something that, somewhat controversial. And I understand what you mean.
Right.
And the next time they saw me, they thought I was, on board with their cause. I'm like, oh, no, I actually totally don't agree with anything you said. I just don't have to argue about it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that part.
I feel like that just comes from a point of, like, when you hold something that dear, you're instantly defensive about it. And just, that's just why that instantly turns into an argument.
Well, and you start to take it on as part of your identity.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to something you think and feel.
Right.
That's where the ego comes into play.
Absolutely.
All right. So favorite book, and I know you got to have about 1,000 books in there. But
I was listening to your interview on the way over here to get a kind of feel for what you guys do. And I was thinking about this and going, I haven't read books as much as I used to. One of my favorites lately, there's a simple little book called Peaks and Valleys that I really like. I also like a book entitled Elite Minds. From a fictional perspective, I think it's been a while since I've read something, so I couldn't come up with a good answer for that one.
Right. It is. When I was a kid, I didn't read any. My mother would require me to read a nonfiction, and I never could stand it. I was like, this is so dumb, but those are the ones I still remember.
Right. I did like I read the Chronicles of Narnia to my kids. Really enjoyed those, especially the end of it. I thought that was really interesting how it ended.
Yeah, I actually haven't ever read them. Like, not against it. It just never came off the shelf and went in.
Right. Well, it's interesting how our different life experiences lead us into different books, movies, experiences.
Right. So now the big question, what do you cook well?
I like to do the weird stuff. I don't have a special or specific thing that I do, but I like to come up with unique combinations. I was trying to think of this too, that like I'll put like fruit on a burger, or you guys were talking about pizza. I like Hawaiian is probably my favorite pizza. I like pineapple on my pizza.
Yeah.
So I like the unique things. A Monte Cristo sandwich. Has everybody ever had that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I've never had like a good one. I've had them at like the gas station.
I think it was Cheddar's has a really good Monte Cristo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. So that's kind of. I mean, I can cook burgers, I can cook steaks, but
I'm seeing like a contrast. You like foods with a stark contrast.
oh yeah, I like that. That salty sweet combo type of thing. I like to mix things up.
Yeah. All right. What kind of music are you in?
I can listen to a wide range of music. Growing up, it was the 80s pop culture and heavy metal, Def Leppard, Whitesnake, a bunch of those different ones. So those are still in my head. And then I like meditative music. I like that just where there's no, what's the word, vocals.
Yep.
It's just, it takes you to a place where you get real contemplative and introspective and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm into lately.
Yeah. I noticed a long time ago that when I set my morning alarm, it's hard for me to wake up. Mm-hmm. I always have a hard time waking up. And I can get the loud squawk and the want, want. And that's probably the most effective. The least effective by far is any music that I like.
Yeah.
Any music that I'm comfortable with. And I've listened to a lot of heavy metal, the real screamy stuff.
Right.
I'm super comfortable with it. I'll sleep right through it.
Yeah.
The middle of the road is people talking.
Okay.
Like my brain will start to engage and like, okay, what are they talking about?
Right.
Yeah, I still have to go with the loud wah-wah speaker most of the time.
I have to.
Yeah, at this point, the dogs know the difference between whose alarm is whose. And so if my alarm goes off for more than about the time it takes them to stand up and walk over to where I'm at, and they'll jump up and just start raking their claws across my back. Like, it totally not to be mean. They're just like, hey, buddy, it's time.
Yeah.
We're ready to play with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the first time it was not super pleasant. I wasn't super happy with it, but no, I'm kind of used to it, and it's our morning routine.
Yeah.
I find in our house, it's like my wife has an alarm, then I have an alarm, then my wife has an alarm, then I have an alarm. So about the second or third alarm is when we actually get out of bed, as opposed to the very first one.
And you guys mostly get up together?
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. See, I got up before Danny for years,
Yeah.
and for the last 2 or 3, she actually is the one that gets out of bed earlier usually.
Yeah.
It drives my wife crazy. I have to set a few,
Yeah.
just to be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have. My wife wakes up to her first alarm every time, no hesitation. I have 7.
Yeah. I think she's the psychopath because of that.
Yeah.
Because my wife's the same way. It goes off for like half a second. She's out of bed.
Yep.
Yeah, I have. That's something, and I don't know what it is, if it's a gender thing or what, but I have never, in the 15 years I've been with my wife, sat there and stared at her angrily while she slept because she was able to sleep. I think that happens once a week, where she's just like mad, just totally wants to wake me up just because I'm getting sleep and she can't fall asleep.
Oh, yeah.
I get about a half an hour to maybe 45 minutes more that I could sleep than my wife in the morning, and she's kind of the same way. Like, it's not fair. It's like, hey, you chose the job.
Right. Well, no, I'm talking about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up to use the restroom in the middle of the night, and she's just staring at me like,
wow,
hatefully, because I'm asleep.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, she just,
Wakes up.
not even a stressful time or anything like that. Her brain's running.
Wow.
Mine's ran out of gas.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah. Okay, so if you could sit down with anybody and have a meal, anybody living or dead, who would you want to have a conversation, share a meal with?
I would actually like to sit down with Jesus. I think that would be an interesting conversation because there's so much viewpoints, positive, negative. What's this guy really like?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd be a little intimidated on that one.
Why?
Well, I mean, there's the whole part where, okay, he knows everything anyway, but there's the part where, I'm not trying to sit there and, screw up. Like, I don't know how that's different from any sort of active religious life, but it's like,
Right.
yeah, I'm not going to bother you right now.
I have come to this place in my own relationship that, everybody has their own unique viewpoints, but if he already knows, you might as well just be honest. Because I think really we're fooling ourselves as opposed to fooling God or whatever term you want to use. But I've just come to this place, I'm just honest. So I would like to have that conversation. I would like to know. Because I think all of us have this sense of there's something bigger than us. What is that? And what would that look like if you could actually have conversation that
Sure.
you could actually hear audibly? I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And well, I mean, from my viewpoint, my belief system, it's my thought process on it's totally silly.
Right.
It's like, maybe I don't want to do this. All right, so we kind of ran out of the simple questions. Tell me a little bit about growing up and stuff like that.
Okay. So I was born in the mid 60s, not in the mid 80s, like somebody was talking about in their interview. I was graduating from high school in the mid 80s. I grew up in Wichita, been born and bred here my whole life. We were probably lower middle class. My parents had 6 kids in 7 years, so there was a lot of noise around our house. I'm the oldest of 6. 5 boys, 1 girl. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic. There was the princess that got to have her own room, and the rest of us were bunked together. And my dad was, this is kind of one of the foundation points of my life. He was emotionally distant. He was a good man. He worked hard. One of the things that I am very grateful for is my dad did his best to go farther than his dad did, because his dad was not very emotionally engaged. His dad was harsh. His dad came from, the 1920s, 1930s, where man and woman, and you don't talk, and you do what I tell you because I tell you. And so I distinctly remember an interaction between my dad and his dad. My dad is in his 40s, and we're working on a car, and I don't even remember what happened, but my grandpa started berating my dad, and I'm like going, what the hell is this? I'm like, the guy's 40 years old. He's not your, little kid, and you're acting like he's a 10-year-old kid. So it helped me see a lot about how my dad grew up and what my dad experienced, and so it helped me understand him. I tend to be a sensitive type of guy when it comes to feeling stuff. I feel a lot. I can see a lot on people's faces. So that was a big deal for me, because I was kind of I felt this. I knew my dad loved me, but I never heard it. I never felt it. And so that was something that really impacted me growing up. So I did sports. I was a pretty smart kid. I was well educated, and so I went to public school. I wasn't homeschooled, so I got the other side of it. There are social benefits, but I was kind of an awkward kid because religion was a big part of our growing up, and so it's like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't dance, all the don'ts you're not supposed to do. So I didn't go to parties. I didn't go to dances. I kind of was just a loner to a degree.
All right. So here at the Joe & Co podcast, we definitely encourage everyone to get out of their comfort zone. But at my other business, J Fry Enterprises, we do air conditioning. So we absolutely want you to stay comfortable through the summer heat and the winter cold. Give us a call at 316-727-4651.
Went to college. I was going to, when I was a kid, I was going to be a professional football player, like a lot of kids. And then I was going to be an architect. And then I went to Wichita State. I was going to go into computer engineering, and then I went to Oklahoma Christian College. I was going to be a youth minister, and then I went back into computer science, and then I came back to Wichita, and I was in accounting, and then my younger brother always knew what he wanted to do from high school, and I went up to visit him one weekend, and the next weekend I'd moved up there. So just dropped out of school, started chiropractic school. So that was kind of my journey into the healthcare field. I had a bunch of relatives that were like, you should do this. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And yet that's where I ended up. So I've been in healthcare for over 30 years. I went from traditional chiropractic into functional medicine into energy medicine. So it's kind of been an interesting journey from where I started to where I am now. My favorite thing to do when it comes to healthcare is really digging into mindset, because I like talking about why we do what we do. And you've heard me talk about this in BNI. My philosophy is this: what we think drives what we feel, drives how we behave, drives what we experience, drives what we believe, that then becomes this circular loop that then drives what we think, what we feel, and so on. And so what I really like to get at is the why. Why do you think what you think? Because if I can change the way you think, I can change your whole life.
I like that.
Yeah, that's really what because here's the thing that I think is most people don't realize: as much as 95% of what you think, do, and feel in a day is a subconscious program, which means most of our life we're not really living. We're just existing. We're surviving. We're only truly choosing about 5% of the time.
It's an interesting concept. I'm sitting here trying to roll it in my mind so that I'm getting dead air, but
that's okay. So
yeah.
I'll give you a simple example. When you got up this morning, did you get up in the same way, on the same side of the bed, about the same time? You go through the same routine. You get up and either get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, you get in the shower, you shower the same way, shampoo. So it's all this routine that we don't really even think about, which there's a benefit to that as well, because if you had to think about every single thing that you do, that's very energy inefficient. But when it comes to how we interact with each other, that's where I think it's important. Because even as we're having conversation, part of your thought processes are going to be dictated by what you have habitually done. You're going to think about it the same way, feel about it the same way, react the same way. So that's really what I really try to help people be consciously aware. It's not that these routines are bad. It's that have you consciously chose them? Because once you consciously choose, like take for example, driving a car, we don't need to think about that all the time. Unless you're a horrible driver, then maybe you should consider thinking about how you drive. But it's the things that, you know, how you interact with your spouse, how you interact with your kids. Are you being the type of person you want to be? If not, then where's that coming from?
The about like the routine, I don't know, something about it reminded me of this about people that are translators have mental decline issues when they're older because like you don't have to think when you talk. Like you obviously think about words you're saying and stuff, but like you know how to speak English. But then when you're sitting there trying to go back and forth very quickly on that stuff and you're really thinking and you do that a lot, it like big brain drain on you. And you have to find it. But yeah, there was a like kind of small study thing about people that were translators for like 20, 30 years or something. And they had like an increased risk of whatever when they were older.
Of mental decline, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I want to look that up. Because I would almost think it would be the opposite because you're engaging your brain so much. But you're saying it's more from the perspective that it drained all the energy, so now they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was. You know, it might have been like 20 people, like 15 people.
Sure.
But it was just it was talking about whether or not there should be a time limit on how long people are interpreters.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like an ethical study thing. It wasn't like a, what would you call it, like a
physical study?
Well, it wasn't like a medical study of like, oh, why is this happening? It's like
right.
Ethical, like, oh, is it okay to have people be an interpreter for, you know, like the military or something for 30 years if when they're, you know, 80, they're getting whatever type of mental decline from it.
There's
often.
There's a similar thing for air traffic controllers.
Yes. Yeah.
A similar thing of like an ethical time limit on how long they can do it. And you have to look into it. I can't speak on it much past that.
That's interesting.
Right. Well, I think it's like working out. You know, physically, there's certain things that you might benefit from, but then in the long term, they can damage you. You know,
right.
The really heavy lifting, that kind of stuff. And I guess that could be the same way mentally, I suppose, where some things, you know, increase your longevity, and some things you're using up a resource that you have a finite amount of.
I wonder if that's because it's stress driven so much.
That's the air traffic controller one. It has to do with stress.
Yeah. Well, because that's kind of the foundation of what I do in practice really is you're in one of two states. You're either in stress mode, fight or flight, which most people know of, or you're in rest and digest, heal, and repair. And the tricky part is it's not 100% one way or the other. It's a ratio. And I think the more time we spend in stress, the less your body can heal and repair, which that would make sense. So,
yeah.
Because you can't be healthy in stress. The body can tolerate it short term, but not long term.
Right. That makes sense. So you got into the chiropractic trade, and a lot of your family was. Where did that start? Was your dad, your grandpa, or?
No, it was cousins and uncles. So, yeah. My dad actually was an aircraft worker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, worked at Cessna for many years.
That's cool. And because I actually, when I was growing up, I knew a Dr. Farney.
Yeah, Dr.
And
Terry Farney.
Yeah.
That's my uncle.
Your uncle. I couldn't remember if you said cousin or uncle, but I haven't seen him in 20 years, but I was like, a Dr. Farney. And then I realized, a little bit of family extension here.
Yeah, I'm also related to the Dobbs as well. Those are my mom's second cousins. So, my mom's cousins, not second cousins, but so, yeah, there's a lot of my relatives in town that have done chiropractic work.
That's pretty cool. Does it make it? You think it makes it hard for unrelated people to break the market and get in?
Not as much. I mean, I think it's like anything else. I do think at times that the chiropractic market is saturated here locally. So I think it's more a matter of the individual person as opposed to the market itself.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like any other profession that I think most of it comes down to what you think and feel about yourself. Because when you think and feel healthy about yourself, you're going to act in that way. And when you don't, you're not.
Right. So you said you went from chiropractic to
Functional medicine.
functional medicine.
Right.
So can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah. So when you go to your medical doctor, what do they typically do? They listen to your heart. They listen to your stomach. They listen to your lungs. They do blood work. We did the same thing. We learned how to do it. The difference was instead of prescribing medication, we would recommend supplements or what are called tinctures or remedies. So,
Right. Yeah. You asked me about the doctor. I think I've been twice in the last decade.
right.
Once was in the hospital, but
Some people would say that's a good thing.
right. No, I don't know that it's necessarily the best thing. I think part of it's definitely for me, if I don't know, it can't hurt me.
That's a typical male mentality. That's part of why men die sooner. Because I'm good. I don't need to help.
Right.
So.
Right. I do think there's some value to something that I have though, because I don't get sick very often.
Right.
When I do, it's usually fairly drastic.
Gotcha.
But, I can have a little stomach ache and ignore it. It goes away pretty quick. I can have just a little odd thing. But as far as, super high fever, got to miss work, throwing up, it's real rare. And I think there is something there that I'm doing
Right.
other than just genetic lottery.
Well, yeah, I think that's where mindset can really come into play too. I think most guys are kind of have this mentality, I've got to just keep going on. So even if you are experiencing, sometimes we just ignore it and go, I gotta do what I gotta do.
Right.
So
What's your take on that?
long term, it's unhealthy. I mean, I think there's an aspect of it that's healthy. I think as an overall strategy, it's not, because then what I think happens is you have stuff that develops and all of a sudden you have cancer. All of a sudden you
Gotcha.
have, some major condition. It's because you've been ignoring the little signs. So
Yeah, that's actually my grandpa was. Oh no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then one day, you're gonna die in 4 months from
Right.
cancer, by the way. And he's like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, we have a family member, the same thing.
Yeah.
Same
But
exact thing.
also wonder, because like you were talking about, you've been to the doctor how many times in the last decade, versus I wonder what the mindset comes in on that, because I have a friend that's like a stomach ache ER. I'm dying ER. This is
Yeah.
an ulcer. I'm gonna die. And he's
Yeah.
fine every
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
like,
that's the other extreme of
Yeah.
that mindset. Yeah. And that's not healthy either. It's finding that place in the middle where I tell people your body's telling you a story all the time. The problem for most guys is guys don't listen to the story. So, and then other people let the story just dictate their whole life, and that's not healthy as well.
Right. So kind of a more tough tactically, but soften up strategically a little bit, and at least look for the pattern, look for the...
Yeah, it's about wisdom, and it's about, I think ultimately the story that the body is telling you is where your mindset or where your thinking is not as healthy as it could be. Because to me, when we talk about feelings, that's chemistry within the body. And so take, for example, a stomach ache. Why are you having pain in your stomach as opposed to your leg, as opposed to your shoulder, as opposed to your head? If you have an infection, why? What caused the body to not be able to deal with it in this particular instance as opposed to any other time? So it's my favorite question of all is why? Why is whatever you're experiencing, why are you experiencing what you're experiencing?
Right. Yeah, I think this time it was a stronger, kind of the flu or a stronger cold bug or something. And
See, and that's really the difference between alternative healthcare and traditional, or it's funny how it's called traditional medical care, because truly traditional goes back to more natural stuff as opposed to what we do in our modern world, where we're medicating and surgery and everything. I think some people believe in what's called the germ theory, which means the germ's the problem, where other people believe in a terrain theory, which means your terrain is the problem, not the germ. Which, if you think about, why do people that are in the same office, one gets sick, one doesn't? If it's just the germ, shouldn't the germ be universal? So everybody should get sick. So it's not the germ itself that's the issue, it's how you interact with the germ that's the problem. Which to me ultimately gets to the health of you as a person. well, then what drives the health of you? And from my perspective, it's ultimately how we consistently think and feel within ourselves, what we believe.
It's interesting because sometimes, I got young kids, and sometimes like a bunch of kids at school will be sick. One of my kids will wind up sick. And then like in one instance, me and my daughter will be fine.
Right.
And then the wife gets really sick, or, not really sick, but catches the bug. And then sometimes it's the total opposite. Sometimes I get hit with it and the boys got it, or, me and her got it. And so it's just very hit and miss. I always just chalk it up to like, we got little kids. Like they're going to bring viruses or what have you home from school, or, this and that. But
it's weird that like, 'cause I work with kids a lot, and there's a bunch of other staff, and there'll be times where we'll have 30 people sick, but then the rest of it, I mean, we're all constantly around these little, we're basically teachers around these little kids all the time. And nope, us 20 are good. Those 30 are, calling out of work. And they're obviously, it's not just calling out of work, and they're obviously bad. And I've never really thought about like, oh, that's just weird that, that never came up.
Well, because most people don't think about it. That's weird. That's what our society tells us is, oh, well, it's, you got a bug. Okay. Why? And I think for one, sometimes we need to get sick so that our immune system learns how to interact with things. That's not necessarily, I think that sometimes we jump on sickness too fast instead of letting the body work its way through it. The other thing, if I go really into, I'm big into what I would call psycho-spiritual realm, which is, I think we ultimately, everything is frequency or vibration, and we vibrate in a certain frequency, which then means we attract that same frequency to ourselves. So why are kids vibrating at a certain frequency? Now, if you want to get really trippy and weird, either one, they learned it from their parents, or two, they inherited in their genetics. That there are sometimes things in our genetics that's causing the problem. And not just your, like what people think of as a true genetic problem. I mean, even just the story itself sometimes is an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, nature and nurture, I definitely have you can't disregard either. You cannot say it's one or the other at any full, I do like to ignore one.
Which one?
Nature.
Okay.
Which I think I appreciate what it does for my mindset, because it brings the control back to me. Like, I'm not going, okay, maybe I am predisposed, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make the decision on how this goes.
Right. Which ultimately means there's a third piece that people don't take into account, which I think there's nature, nurture, and choice. It's choice is where the power is.
Right.
I think it's good to be aware of the nature factor and the nurture factor, and then go, okay, taking that into account, now I get to make a choice. So it helps to understand, which I think is beneficial. It just, you're either going to choose to be a victim of either nature or nurture, or you're going to choose to be a victor of nature and nurture.
I like that, the victor part. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about what you're saying and like put it into specific times in my life and stuff like that, and try to balance it and like, okay, trying to qualify, what do I think about what he just said? Like you said, having a real conversation. It's you have a certain, I don't know, personality or approach to this that I don't get super combative. Like it's like, all right, what, I don't know if it's a respect level I have for you or what it is that causes it, but it's like, I want to try to qualify what he's saying is right.
I get that.
I do my best, especially in my work, in my office, to be a no judgment zone, because I think that's part of the problem is we tend to judge each other a lot. And if you feel any judgment, you're right away going to shut down, or you're going to put up your walls of defensiveness. And again, if we could just go, I never thought about it that way. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It just means it's. This gets into, I think, a lot of times too, is I'm going to use religion because that's the easiest place to go, because how many of us are who we are based upon the religious viewpoint, whatever that may be, we grew up with, instead of going, did I actually choose that? Do I choose to agree with that or not? That I think there are certain things that it's important to bring back to our conscious awareness, and then make a conscious choice. Even if you choose the same thing, make it be your conscious choice as opposed to what you just were taught or nurture. So even that nature nurture choice, nature and nurture aren't necessarily good or bad per se. It's just, am I going to choose to stay in alignment with that or choose something different? I think that's really important as we age.
Right. Yeah, I think, I've always thought about that in terms of football. Mm-hmm. Here local, the local favorite would be the Kansas City Chiefs, and you have the diehards that grew up that way, and
right.
And then you have the subset of people that pick their direct opponents as their very favorite because hell with what I grew up with,
right?
And then you have random people like me that picked their team on a video game, but I hold to that with almost a religious, I will not switch,
right.
I picked it over a stupid reason and found reasons and built an opinion on it based on this is what I picked when I started.
So who's your team?
The Chicago Bears.
That's right. The Bears.
Yeah, I mean, they won a Super Bowl 3 weeks before I was born.
Makes sense.
And have they ever been back?
Was it pretty good?
What's that? Yeah, it was actually fun to watch. I loved watching the fridge.
Yeah.
It was hilarious to see this. I mean, because that was a new concept back then. This huge guy back in the running, in the backfield, you're going, dang. It was just, that was.
The coach went to jail the first night that he did that? For DUI. He went straight home, straight from the game.
I did not realize that.
Coach Dedka was drunk when he called that play.
I did not realize that. Well, I can relate to that because I actually grew up liking the Raiders because I liked black and silver. I thought that color combination looked cool, whereas my siblings liked the Cowboys. And so I was like, no. Yeah. And it's funny, as I've aged, I have less respect for the Raiders organization because they're kind of a thug organization overall. And I'm like, I don't respect that. Whereas I would look back on the Cowboys back then were more of a class organization. Now I don't see them that way now because I think I have a friend, we have this conversation a lot. They're never going to be good until they get rid of Jerry Jones. It's my viewpoint.
Yeah, I think that's most of the Cowboys fans' viewpoints too.
Yeah, I'm just like, so it's just, I think I look even beyond that though. Why do we connect with these teams?
Isn't it like part of our tribalism?
Yes, and what I find interesting is we take it on as this identity thing,
right?
Because
we have to belong to a team,
right?
And it applies to several aspects of the human experience.
I find it so funny how people talk about, well, we did this and my team,
and
I'm like, going,
too.
You didn't do jack squat.
Like the post Super Bowl Facebook novels of, I'm so proud we achieved all it. I get a kick out of that.
Oh yeah, it's. That's a whole interesting dynamic.
But we can trace that back in the course of human history. It's
right.
It's a thing. It's part of us.
Well, and it's part of that figuring out who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times, I think it's built, unfortunately, on a unhealthy perspective that when we're fully satisfied with ourselves, do we really care about any sports team?
Right.
It's when it's like we're lacking something, or we're looking for somebody to compensate for something we're lacking within ourselves more often than not. Mm. Because why are we identifying with that? I mean, that's one of my. I used to get, when I was a kid, I would get irate and even cry when my team lost. And that's one of the things that I've worked a lot to get at. Why? Why was I so desperate for my team to win? And what I realized is because I felt something about myself that I was wanting that to compensate for. And so I think that's where most people don't even realize you're using this as a comfort for something you don't realize within yourself.
Right. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That just made me think of, I felt like I was with Joe for the last Super Bowl, and I'm an Eagles fan. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there, And I really was not. You made some comment like, man, you're kind of not even, like, you guys are blowing this out right now, and you're not even anything. I'm like, yeah. And I've realized that how much, like, when I talk to someone like Joe about football, I'm like, you really like football. I thought I liked football, but no, it's like there's just and I've wondered, like, what makes, like, is it because you played football? I played football when we were both younger.
Yeah, I wasn't very good or anything.
Me either. But like, I always wonder, like, what's the differentiating makes it like this is my thing? Because I know, like, there is probably a separation for like, as much as you like football, I'm probably that into like X Games, like BMX or something for that type of thing. So I wonder, like, what makes that difference there? Because I don't feel like I was any more, like, when I was younger, into football, one or the other. It's just like some random point there was just a divergence of like, football's like, yeah, it's cool, and like I have a team, but like this is actually what you know what I mean?
Is it all part of like forming one's identity?
Yeah,
just these subconscious like choices. Is it still a choice if it's subconscious? I don't know, but I think it ties to identity, because I recognize that in myself with different things throughout my life that I've kind of slowly let go of as I've sobered up and progressed in my looking internal instead of external.
I think you come to a place too where, because it's funny, you were talking about the Super Bowl, and I was a Chiefs fan. That was written for the Chiefs, and I felt the same thing on the other side. I'm just like, huh. And I think you come to this place of going, when you're younger, you think, well, if my team would win, then I'll feel this certain thing. And you go, huh, okay, they won, so what? It's almost like it's never satisfied. Well, they got to win 2. Well, now they got to win 3. And you're wanting, it's really comes down to this dopamine hit thing. I have this desire to write this book I'm going to call Double D, which is the dopamine dilemma. I think we have this lack of satisfaction in our own life, and so we're looking for something outside of ourselves to give us that feeling. And it becomes this addiction you don't even realize is there.
I notice it with myself, like external validation hits that switch for me.
Right.
And it has attributed to a lot of poor decisions and behavior throughout the course of my life. And today I can look back and see it, and I can even still catch myself doing it. And it sucks sometimes because I'm like hyper aware of my defects or my deficiencies, if you will.
It's funny because I've experienced the same thing, because one of the things I find most interesting that humans can do is what's called metacognition, that you can see yourself doing what you're doing. That it's this weird sensation of going, I'm making this decision again, which really isn't that great a decision, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Because basically your brain goes, well, you haven't given me any better solutions, so this is the best I got.
Right.
And so it's being able to realize one of the things that I'm really driving to in my own personal podcast is this. The ultimate thing is for you to realize you're not broken. Because I think the biggest challenge for all of humanity is this. At our core, we feel this, I'm not good enough, something's wrong with me. And we're looking for all these things to make that thing go away. And if you could just realize that even though you think and feel it doesn't make it true, then you're not living from that place. Because I think most people live to not be something as opposed to be something.
And with the metacognition, like, what's the cheat code? Like, is it a discipline thing?
It's the cheat code is basically the realization. So I kind of have this 3-step process I think people have to go through. Number 1 is awareness. Number 2 is forgiveness. And number 3 is choice, conscious choice.
I like that.
Then you can let go into subconscious programming.
I'm totally in the awareness stage. And in a lot of aspects of my life, I'm in and through the forgiveness part and at the choice part. But then there's other aspects where I'm...
Now, here's the tricky part, because I think you have to take all 3 of those through 3 levels. Number 1 is your mental, which is your head, what you think. 2nd is your emotional, which is your heart, what you feel. And 3rd is your spiritual, which is your gut or what you believe. And I think the hard part is I do a lot with what I call inner parent, inner child work. That if you ever find yourself going, I should do this, and another part of you goes, no, I don't want to.
every day.
Yeah, it's this weird sensation. And I think the challenge is you go, well, which one am I? Am I the one that's telling me what I should do or the one that's telling me I don't want to? And you're kind of going, I don't know who I am.
Right.
And that's that whole identity thing of am I one or the other? And I think the whole point is if you can bring them into a healthy coherence where what you choose to do and what you know wisdom-wise is the most healthy for you, now you're in unity.
Gotcha.
I think the problem is all of us have this split personality thing all the time.
I thought it was just me, like I was just a crazy person.
Well, you are, and we are. No, it's everybody's that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the dilemma in life is you're going, who am I? And that's where we're looking for something outside of ourselves that seems to have it together. So now I can at least feel a part of something that makes me feel okay. And
yeah,
you come to this realization of going, that's not working because I still feel this thing inside myself.
Man, I really like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. Especially where I'm at just today in life. Mm-hmm. I don't feel as crazy.
You're not.
Yeah, I feel like that plays in that thing. Like just sometimes you feel like everyone else is in on this joke and I'm not. What's happening? Yeah. And but then when you hear someone say it like that, you're like, oh, okay. This isn't an inside joke. No one else knows what's going on either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that base conversation between the three of us at the camp out last year is probably the basis for the podcast.
Yeah.
That's the baseline for, oh, hey, we can sit and really dig into the weeds for hours.
Well, because it gets into the idea too. How many people feel like an imposter?
Oh man, we were talking about that earlier today or last night.
Yeah. Every day, imposter syndrome is a state of being.
Well, I had an interesting conversation with a guy that I never thought about it from this perspective. When you wake up in the morning, you at some point, if you're going to take a shower, you get naked, right?
Right.
If you look at yourself in the mirror in that state, what do you feel?
I mean, I'm a crazy person, so I see this Calvin Klein model, but it's very misguided.
Do you feel like a Calvin Klein model?
No.
Okay.
No.
If you don't have 100%, I love this guy.
See, I have a weird where I feel like it's an imposter syndrome where I have this self-confidence that I don't feel like is warranted, but that's that internal.
Well, because you get it. You have that self-confidence up here because there's a logical aspect that goes, I am a good guy.
Yeah.
I got these, I've done this and I've done this and I've accomplished this and I've done this. And then you have this other part that goes, dude, you're a little saggy there and you don't look like this supermodel here and you did these bad things and we see all that.
Right.
And what was interesting is one of the first things you do is you put clothes on to cover yourself up. Mm-hmm. And I never thought about it from that perspective that clothing to a degree, and I'm not necessarily advocating we all walk around naked, but clothing is an aspect of imposter syndrome. Mm. We are trying to hide ourselves because we're afraid of being seen, because we're afraid of being judged.
I know I get the strongest times I feel imposter syndrome is wearing nice clothes. Like we have a thing at work and I'm wearing like a dress shirt and slacks and stuff. I'm like, it's like, no, you guys have no idea. This is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not, I feel like I'm wearing someone else's skin.
What I love so in that moment, why do you feel what you feel? Because it's based upon a thought that you're probably not consciously aware of.
I would think that I'm feeling that because, that it feels like I'm in a level I'm not like this. I don't experience this. This is not something I seek out. And I feel like I look like a type of person that does. I feel like I'm presenting as that type of thing. And I feel like that's what my imposter syndrome comes from, but I don't actually know.
Does the clothing present success in a particular avenue?
It could, I guess. Yeah.
So why do you not feel you don't identify with that, you don't feel that, which means you don't think of yourself in that way.
Yeah.
Somewhere either in your upbringing or in your inheritance has a thought pattern that says these two don't equal.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
there's no argument there.
So do you know where that started?
Probably just from my upbringing with my parents.
Okay.
Like just the type of people we are this is what we do and
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys like going deep and you want to get trippy here for a second?
I do. I'm loving this.
Okay, so do this. Think about that feeling. Mm-hmm. You can feel that feeling of this imposter thing of we don't get dressed up and we're okay. Think about being 5 years of age. Can you feel that feeling?
Yeah.
Think about being 4 years of age. Can you feel that feeling?
I don't know if I have any memories.
Now,
of being
don't
4.
think. Yeah, see, now that's the problem is your brain's searching for this memory. I want you to just pay attention to your body. Do you feel the same feeling? If you think about being 4, is the feeling still there?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I can't.
Okay. So if that's true, somewhere between 4 and 5, you shifted. What happened at around 5 years of age that would change that perspective? Now, the difficulty, once you start going past 5 is about the age, somewhere between 2 to 5, we start to become consciously aware. If you will listen to your body will respond and give you an answer if you ask that. If you think about being 2, you're not trying to gain a memory. You're just listening to your body because your body knows. Your body remembers being 2 years of age. And if you will listen, the feeling's either there or it's not there. If it's not there, then that means somewhere it shifted. At some point you weren't that, and then you became that. And then if you can identify that, then there was an experience that you perceived in a certain way that created the thought, that created the feeling, that created the identity, and now you just have perpetuated it over your life.
With the dressing nice and the material stuff, I think I've noticed as I got older, social media, somewhere along the line, I could probably pinpoint it if I really dug into it. I started to perceive these external things as a measure of success.
Absolutely.
And then so moving to the town that we're in right now, when I moved back, remember when I first moved back, I was like, man, I feel way out of place. Like I'm a South Side working class kid and living out here. I didn't like it at first. I was very uncomfortable. And and I was aware it's because I felt like this imposter syndrome. Like, no, I'm not as successful as these other people in my community. I don't belong here. I'm the nail that sticks out. And I see just how irrational that thought is, that it's just my own perception of what success is. And as I was able to identify that, like, I don't really feel that way anymore. It just is what it is. Like, I'm a happy, healthy guy. My kids are healthy. Everything's good. Like, life is good today. Right. I don't need to see what the Joneses got in their driveway to feel better. Now, that's not to say that I don't still catch myself doing that. I mean, it happens to us all the time. We're inundated with information that we're constantly measuring ourselves against. At least I am. Well,
you're not alone. Everybody does that. And what I drive to that for is because that conflict in you creates stress. Stress is what keeps us from being healthy.
Okay.
And as long as that's there, you can't be. My whole purpose is to help people see the truth of their existence so they can fully manifest. Because that's I see humanity as an organism, kind of like my body has multiple cells. And if I have a cell that's unhealthy, then my organism is not as healthy as it could be. So even those that I'm in, getting a little notes there.
Yeah. My brain is going.
Good, because that's my whole goal in life is to help people change the way they think. Because it's ultimately your thoughts that have brought you to the point you are in life. And I'll ask you all a simple question, and I can answer it the same way, is, are you satisfied with where you are in this current moment? Fully?
I don't know, man. Sometimes I'd like to think that I am, and then sometimes it's like, no,
right.
It depends what aspect of my life I'm looking at, but absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's things that I'm not satisfied with, and there's things that I am.
My goal is a term I would call wholeness, when I have peace, joy, and love in every single aspect of my existence. That's my goal. I've never met anybody that's there.
Right.
So it's not that you're all bad. It's just the stuff that's already good. That let it stay that. It's what keeps you from being that all the way. Because I think ultimately, when you are fully manifesting who you are, you have that in all aspects of your life. Because to me, peace is a state of your mind, joy is a state of your heart, and love is a state of your soul.
Oh, I like that. It's kind of where I'm at in my spiritual journey personally, is just being present. Being present, and that's had the most impact. And it's also one of the most difficult things to do.
It is.
Because it's just difficult. It's hard to explain.
Because that's what we've been taught. Right. That's one of the other big pieces I try to help people realize is whatever you're doing that's unhealthy, you didn't truly choose that. It's what you were taught. Because if I could, it's kind of that whole concept. If I could give you a magical pill that would fix everything, would you take it?
Probably. Why not? You know?
Now, somebody answered this to me one time that I thought was a good answer to a degree too, is they said no, because I think part of the journey is important as well. But once you become aware of something that is not healthy or is not beneficial to you or somebody else, if you choose to stay in it, then you're making a choice to be unhealthy, which ultimately to me is a choice to not love yourself.
I agree with that.
I think it plays into the idea of like the thing of things that are sought after or respected. If you remove the challenge to get to there, then no one cares anymore.
Right.
Like if there was a secret, if you take like a pill and all of a sudden you are jacked Arnold Schwarzenegger, like then no one cares.
Right.
Like, oh, cool, yeah, dude, you work out that, whatever, no one cares. But then if
the reason I ask it that way is I think ultimately it gets down to a choice, because you're choosing. If take your example, if you want to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, then you have to choose to go that pathway.
Right.
Now, I think there's aspects of the pathway that are beneficial, no doubt about it. I go back to you're making a choice, because you either believe you can or you believe you can't. And the moment you make that choice, the end point is determined. And that's what I'm seeking to drive people back towards, because I think that's the difference between fear and faith is I can, I can't. And that ultimately goes back to the state of the mind, because the mind makes a decision every moment of every day. I can or I can't. And the moment you say I can't, you can't. You can't succeed.
Yeah, I believe that. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I like Joe over there just going, I got to think about this.
Well, I've been cycling back to the whole the whole naked moment over and over again, and there's a weird thing with me that I've experienced, and I don't know how to replicate it. So I work my ass off all year to save up to go on vacation, because it seems as though, and I'm sure it's completely between my ears. I'm absolutely, because the same people when I go, I don't go on vacation with anybody but my wife. I don't know the other people attending. I don't know other people at the hotel. But I noticed just an experience that when I get there, and I'm visiting with somebody and I don't know a single thing about them. I might know kind of where they're from because of maybe what accent or whatever. I just notice, I feel like when I do that, people are a little more interested in what I have to say. They give me a certain amount of respect. And what I think is that's probably totally horseshit. I know for a fact that the person at that resort, I'm probably never going to see them in Wichita. They're not going to see my house that needs these repairs. They're not going to see my older model car. They're not going to see that the truck I drive is not super nice. To them, he does air conditioning, runs a small company. Oh, he says it's really small, but whatever it is, I become more interesting to people there in my mind. I become more okay with everybody. I get received better. And I don't know that I do get received any better.
I think you do, because I think what you do is you change internally. I think our external environment is a reflection of our internal environment. And so when you change your internal environment, your external environment changes. Because here, you see yourself in a certain way. And you get outside of here and you see yourself in a different way. What if you just saw yourself the same way here as you did there?
And, I was kind of thinking in those terms, but how to achieve that is absolutely a mystery to me. Like, I don't even have a thought process on a route.
That's why I think awareness is so important, because it's difficult, if not impossible, to change something you're unaware of. So what I've learned to do is become aware of, I'm aware of these two different experiences. So I'm aware that Okay, I went back into this one again. Okay, I went back into this again. Okay, I went back into it again. And being able to, I think it's important because not only do you want to be aware, you also want to have something you replace it with. Because if you're just, and this is where I think even some of these dopamine related experiences come into play. It's like you can be aware of it. If you don't have something to replace it with, your brain has nothing else to give you. So it's like, well, I know this doesn't work, but I ain't got nothing else. So if I can become aware, it gives me the opportunity to choose. So if you can be aware every time you started to think and feel the way you think and feel over here, because you mentioned 3 or 4 different things. They're not, I think about my house, I think about my car. What you're ultimately thinking about is what somebody else will think about those things as opposed to what you think about those things.
Sure.
Which is ultimately, again, a reflection of what you think about those things, because you think, well, this means if my house needs repair, then that means something about me. If my car is not up to a certain standard, that means something about me.
Right.
It doesn't. It just means you have a car that's in a certain state. You have a house that's in a certain state. And this is part of the whole problem is we take on all these things to mean something about us. They don't.
Right.
That's powerful.
I totally base my self-worth on 2 things at the basis level, and it's how often my wife and I are intimate and how big my bank account looks.
Okay.
Those are 2 things, and not
right.
The bank account. I don't want to just the other one's fine. Everything's good actually.
We don't need to dive in deeper on those 2 subjects,
right? But as far as the bank account, it's silly. It's total horse shit. Except for it's very real. It's very true, and I have no point of reference that. No point where I've ever changed that.
Where did you learn to think that way?
I don't really. Probably on TV. Probably prior to social media.
Right. So, same thing. If you think about your bank account, what's the first feeling that comes to your mind?
Today, it's okay.
Because?
It's up a little bit.
Okay. If it's a little bit down, what do you feel?
Not okay.
Okay. So you have this up and down based upon external environment.
Right.
Okay. So you interact with money based upon in a certain way. Who taught you to interact with money that way?
And see, I don't really know because my parents weren't that.
Okay.
They weren't like that.
So
my grandparents weren't like that.
So I would do the same thing. So if you think about that feeling, can you get hold of that feeling related to money? That up and down sensation. It's basically you're kind of on guard when it comes to money. It's like, okay, where's my bank account today?
Right.
Am I okay? Ooh, I'm not. This sensation of this fear of money, correct?
Yeah.
And I can relate because that's been one of my biggest challenge points. So if you can grab hold of the feeling, now let's start to go back in your life and let's see how far back that feeling goes. Because if you think about that sensation and you go back to being 20 years of age, is that sensation there?
Yes.
Okay. If you go back to 15, is that sensation there?
Yes.
Go back to 10, is that sensation there?
Yes.
5.
No.
6.
No.
7.
Probably.
Notice how you're starting to think. It's like there's this pause because your body's going, I know I'm getting close. It's something in there. 8.
Yeah.
7 and 8. Something happened around 7 to 8 years of age that started to impact the way you see money.
So what do you do with that information?
Well, for one, you got to become aware of what it is.
Okay.
To me, you have to almost go back into the experience and go, wow, I experienced this. I thought about it this way. I felt about it this way. And then what you can start to do is you can start to see how you've repeated it throughout your life. You start to look at life from a certain perspective and see that validates it. Yep, that validates it. That validates it. Based on what? If you can just realize I had a thought and I had a feeling, that doesn't make it true.
Gotcha.
Anything come to mind around that time frame?
Yeah, I had siblings.
Okay. Why did that change money?
Why did that change money?
Mm-hmm. Why did it change your perception of money?
I don't know. Maybe because I'm not being smart. Maybe it was because I shared my space then. I did. It was. And I didn't seem upset about it. I don't feel upset when I think about
Right.
sharing a room. But it was like things got more full, things got tighter, things got
Now, you just said the word, they got tighter. And when they got tighter, you didn't get as much of what you wanted, correct?
Probably accurate.
So now you start to see money from a whole different perspective, and then you start to see it that way. Because at 7, 8, nobody's teaching you how to think about money. And it's not like your mom and dad go, okay, I really want you to think, I want you to struggle with money, so we're going to talk about it this way. No, they're just trying to figure out, how do I survive this situation? And so you take on this energy, this concept. We're such mirror creatures that it's like, okay, well, mom and dad get stressed about money. I guess that's what I'm supposed to do, especially as I become an adult. They're adults, and now I'm an adult. This is how you act. You don't even realize you're being taught that, because it's not an intentional teaching that they're doing. Your mom and dad would never really want you to be worried about money. That's not what they would intentionally teach. And yet, unknowingly, that's what they taught you. Or even, this is where it gets tricky, because your parents may not have seen it from that perspective, but your perception was, ooh, things are tight. Now I have to be aware of where's money at. If there's a lot, I'm okay. If there's not, And so now you see money from that perspective. Now, as you interact with money, you see yourself in relationship to it this way. And it's not like you're consciously thinking every day, I got to be worried about money. It's just this sensation or this interaction or this pattern of how you look at your bank account and go, okay, do I need to be on guard, or can I be relaxed?
Right. I almost think it's something that's born in, because maybe that was the first time I ever understood finite resources.
Right. But
I never went hungry.
Right.
So I don't worry about food.
The funny thing, though, is if we went back to 5, you don't feel that sensation.
Right. I didn't understand that it was finite either.
I understand that. But again, your perception of your environment changed. So if we go back there and go, okay, what's the reality of that situation? So when you were 7, what happened? Your parents had more kids, which had higher demand. Okay. Logically, is that big a deal? So, okay, they didn't have the resources to continue to give you what you would have liked to have had, correct?
Sure.
Does that mean you have to still have that same pattern? Do you have to continue to feel that sensation? Do you have to continue to think about money in that way? What if you thought about having an abundance of resources all the time? Can you think of yourself in that way?
I've tried.
And what happens? You feel that feeling, right?
Without being an ass, what I would describe as I snap back to reality and remember I don't.
Okay.
I don't have that abundant. People talk about that abundant mindset, and I've never had the abundant mindset. When I look in the mirror, I ignore the things I'm doing well. I always have. And I've been told that that's unhealthy, but I can't conceptualize the gap in the gain. I can't conceptualize that I'm going to do more by thinking about how far I've come rather than attacking the problem. I just can't understand it.
So let me do this. I'm going to tie back into you talking about going into the present. When we stay in the present moment, there is no anxiety. There is no sadness. Because I think anxiety, so when you think about money and your bank account's lower, what do you feel?
Panic.
Okay. Because you are projecting forward. Because you're going, what if this stays that way? Or what if it gets worse? Correct?
Yeah.
So what I'm telling you to do is, in this moment, you're making a choice, because we have a very creative part in our brain that can imagine. Because you are panicking not based upon a current situation, but upon a conceived or perceived experience. What if you change that? What if instead of thinking about how bad it could be, you thought about how good it could be? Because you're just creating a scenario in your own mind, correct?
Yeah.
Your brain is going, what if this gets really bad? Okay, what if it does? Because the truth is, if it gets really bad, you would have to figure out how to deal with it. What if it gets really good? Because most of us don't go that other side, because the default of the human brain is safety. So I got to figure out what the worst case scenario is, so I can figure out if I'm going to survive it or not. Okay. What if we flipped it the other way, though? Do you get what I'm driving at?
I do. I'm trying to even figure out how to do that.
We have been taught in our society as a whole to use our creative brain to protect us against the worst case scenario.
Right.
Okay. Why are we not taught to think about the best case scenario?
Right. My brain feels like it's counterproductive to do that.
Kind of like what would the point be? I don't have anything to defend against in the best case scenario.
Let me ask you this. If you could make a choice, if I'm going to give you, here's your worst case scenario, you can have this, or I'm going to give you your best case scenario, which would you choose?
Well, choose the best case scenario.
So then why are we thinking about the worst?
Because I don't ever have to worry about surviving the best.
I understand that. But the truth is, if this occurs, you're going to have to figure out how to survive it anyway. So you thinking about it ahead of time isn't really going to make it any better. Because if it actually happened, you're going to have to figure out how to deal with it. So you're going to do that anyway. So why not put my energy over here? Because where we put our energy is what we draw to ourselves. And I think that's the problem is we've learned to put our energy over here in this worst case scenario. So we tend to attract to ourselves some form of that.
I'm having a realization moment between you two right now with me. So because when he was describing this, I'm like, I do this all the time. I'm always thinking like I think of what's going to go wrong. Okay, that could happen. All right, whatever. And then I'm only thinking about the best like case scenario. Like I've been since the first month I ever had a job. I was like, I have to do this for 60 years. This sucks. And from that point on, it's been even like this week, every week is make it to Friday. You don't have to ever do it again. And then it restarts Monday. Just make it Friday and you're done. You don't ever have to work again. And then it just restarts every week. Mm-hmm. And it's keeping that like positive of like, it's going to be perfectly fine. And I'm, daydreaming is not the right word, but it's always kind of like, think how like, yeah, like I could get in a wreck or something going to work, whatever. But no, think how good this weekend's going to be or think how good, whatever. And that's like always what I'm like, it's always like, I'm not going to have to do this for 60 more years. This week and I'm done. It's a little different than what he's saying, but it was surprising me that both you guys are like, no, I'm thinking about like the stuff that matters, which is, what could fuck me on the backside, not the thing. And I don't know if that's exactly what you're saying, but
let me ask you this question. What does your ideal life look like? I love that because you already answered the question because what you did is you go, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to get to have it anyway.
You're right. You're right.
Because this gets to the core foundation because you ultimately believe that you're not good enough.
Right.
That something's wrong with you and you can't have that.
I agree with that. I struggle with self-love and feeling good enough. And it's something I'm aware of and something that in some aspects I know what actions to take and am taking. And in other aspects, I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Even my own internal dialogue, I'm trying to make it more positive instead of negative, but it's...
And this is where it gets the whole levels thing, because this is the easiest part to work on. All of us can come up with positive affirmations and all that type of stuff. And the reason those don't tend to work is because you don't believe it all the way down to your... Yes.
Yeah.
And until you get down into here, it ain't going to happen. Because this is where the ultimate frequency comes from, is in our core. Because at our core, that frequency is there all the time. If you have accepted the belief that you're not good enough, you can't do enough to make that go away.
It's hard to hear, but I definitely understand it. I mean, but even back to the worrying about money, and it's like one part of my brain is, well, if I don't worry about it, I won't strategize and I won't make proactive decisions to try to change it. And then, but I also feel I'm in a state of stress when I do that. And so I see the value of, cross that bridge when there's a bridge and just be present. And I'm applying that to a lot of aspects of my life. And so I see the value of it.
Take it a step further, because it's one thing to go, I'm not going to think about worst case scenario, which I don't even tell people. It isn't that you have to stop thinking about worst case scenario. Acknowledge it. In fact, one of my core things that I did, or one of the things that helped me, is I kept feeling this deep fear. And I'm like, what is it? So I grew up in a very religious background. So what is the worst case scenario if you grew up in a Christian home?
You go to hell.
Right. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there mentally. What if I end up in hell? What would I do? And what's weird is all of a sudden that fear diminished, because I'm not seeking to stop this from happening. I'm just going to go there mentally. I mean, it's not exactly the same as being there, but it's as best I can do mentally, go, what would it be like if I'm in hell? And what I realized for me is I felt so bad about myself at times that I not only wanted to die, I didn't want to exist. I'm like, how can hell be any worse than that sensation? Yes, it can be painful and all this other stuff we can imagine, but I'm like, how could it be any worse than that? So it's just like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not actively living to end up in that state, but it's like, instead of fighting against it, I just going, if that happened, I would have to figure out how to deal with it. So now that I've faced that, now where do I want to put my energy? So what if I put my energy and my thoughts and all this stuff in a healthier direction? Because the opposite would be heaven, correct?
Yeah.
And to a degree, aren't we living that in our daily lives? You're either feeling some aspect of hell or some aspect of heaven. You either feel really bad about yourself in your life, or you feel really good about yourself in your life. So the question is, where are you going to put your energy? Are you going to put your energy to not go to hell? Or are you going to put your energy towards being in heaven?
Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's just like there's like a dichotomy there of just, it's kind of like almost the same thing, right? Because in like the idea, just to keep it in a religious sense, like you either go to hell or heaven. There's not like a third option of just, oh, you just, Right. Maybe there is for some people, but like, anyways, so it's whether you're putting the mindset of, are you staying out of hell or are you going to heaven, right? And that's like whether it's like, well, I'm not hurting people or I'm doing good things in the sense, or like I'm not messing my life up or I'm proactively making my life better by doing this thing. I'll talk to you guys. I just had a weird breakthrough moment on something, but anyways, yeah, sorry.
That's right. I'm going to throw out another question since we're on this subject, because the thing I find interesting, how many people are like actively ready to go to heaven? Most people are like, yeah, but I'm not ready to go there yet. Well, wait a minute. If it's this great place, why am I not like desperate to get there? And I'm not saying it's not, but my point is this. I've come to this place in my own personal philosophy where I think it's more a state of being than a place. Because in that moment, for me, when I was desperate to be taken out of existence, I was in hell. Not necessarily physically, but psycho-spiritually, I was in a hellish place. So I think it's more a state of what we're being, that I think we're in heaven and hell all the time to a degree.
It's our own mental prison that we create, where we choose to be.
Or go even beyond the mental into that part of us that has that metacognition. Is that just mental, or is that some type of spiritual part of our being?
I probably believe that it's all tied together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I'm not a religious person. I have a spiritual journey I'm on, but I'm not your typical religious person. But I believe there's resources, and I'm either tapping into them or I'm not. Mm-hmm. And I found that when I'm tapping into them, I'm at a more peaceful place. It's easier to be present and be at ease. And when I'm not, I feel like I'm fighting the current.
Mm-hmm. I think we're either allowing it or blocking it.
Mm-hmm. I relate to that. That's good stuff, man.
You know, I don't think I can even conceptualize of a heaven I do believe that way.
Right.
I read a book, and it wasn't a particularly insightful book, but there was just a part where there was a guy, and this guy's whole thing was just to win. Just to win, to win, to win, to win. He was kind of a jerk. And his, mastery was his addiction. Full mastery. And two characters were talking about him. And what do you think would happen the day that he's just king of the world? He's in charge of everything. He's won. Everything is in line.
Right.
What do you think he'd do? And I knew the answer before because I was listening to it on audiobook. I knew the answer. Because if I conceptualize, I could be the best fighter in the world, but I'm poor. Or if I'm the richest person in the world, but I'm stupid. Or I'm, at some point, if I gained a full level of mastery, and there is nobody better at anything, I would probably cease to have a desire to be. At the point when I can't grow anymore, I don't have any reason left
to exist.
Correct. I mean, there is literally, so even achievement, are just benchmarks are all I can even conceptualize.
I think that's probably a pretty strong normalized subconscious thing because it's like, all right, there's the meme, right? Money can't buy happiness, but there is a thing of when people have money up, and there's a point, I think it's like $170,000 or something a year. At a certain point, people stop. They just become neutral and stop caring, and it stops making. They don't go. You don't get any more happy from $174,000 a year to $1 million a year. You might for the first year, right? You're doing a lot, but then if you continue your life, you stop having a feeling about it. You become impartial, just whatever. I don't care anymore. And yeah, but that's just what that feeling made me think of. And also about how adaptable humans are. Because think how if you lost your leg right now, can't ride a bike, lost your right leg and your right arm, right? You could probably figure out how to ride a motorcycle. But say you'd be out of it.
Thinking about stabbing you in the neck with a pin right
now. But if you think about that happening, but there's people that does happen to, and they're completely content with their life. And there's just there is a, it's not all the way to zero, and it's not all the way up to, a billion, but there's a sliding scale of humans can be happy with their lives wherever they are on this point. But if you go too high, like you said, when you master everything, then it's I don't care no more. I'm done. Click.
Right. I win. Game over. Turn it
or
off.
If you go all the way to the low end of it, that's when, the same thing. People feel like they're in that low end of it. It's all right, whatever. Click. I'm done.
I think that's because we're looking for something outside of ourselves to give us something inside.
Yeah.
And if you can I think when you are truly healthy on the inside, it just automatically comes out of you in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I think that's the game I'm looking to win, is the internal game, not the external.
I agree. When you guys talk about heaven and hell and the achieving everything, mastery, and I don't have any frame of reference for heaven and hell, but it reminds me of kind of a belief that I'm coming to or have arrived at recently, that with being present, tapping into the resources, the spiritual resources, I'm starting to see, and I don't know how misguided this is, but there's no destination. It's just the journey. And that's where the magic is. That's where the state of being that I choose to live in, whether it be like you refer to as heaven or hell. It's just about that journey and the choices I make along it, how I choose to feel, if I'm present or not. If I just android out and go through the motions and disassociate and isolate, well, that journey is going to be wasted. And I spent a lot of years doing that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of what it made me think of. Random thought. It probably sounds crazy.
No. That's one of the things I find myself asking frequently, what is the point of all this? I'm now 60 years old. And it's, at some point you come to this, and it kind of ties back into what you talked about. At some point you've done some aspect of everything in life. You've had some aspect of every type of pleasure you can imagine. And so then it just becomes a matter of scale. And you go, that's it? Isn't there something else? Isn't there some sensation or some heaven that I'm going to achieve? And I think the point is the journey. The point is, I heard somebody say that the whole point of life is to be broken so you can be healed, so you can help heal other people.
I like that.
I thought that was an interesting concept because I'm like,
certainly on track.
you got the broken part down real good.
I mean, I'm in the healing process, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to help others, and I feel useful. I feel, I don't know. I used to be full of shame and regret, and now I feel like I have oh man, you religious folks have a word for it, a testimony, and it helps other people, and it's like, I heard that recently, and it really hit me like, oh shit.
I'll give you a phrase I think you'll probably like. The past without emotion is wisdom.
I like that.
So we talked about anxiety comes from the future when we project forward. Sadness, guilt, shame come from the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm at that place now where I like the saying, I don't regret the past nor wish to close the door on it. It just is what it is.
Past is what brought you to where you are.
Yeah.
And if you can live in the present moment, there's wisdom you've gained from everything that you've experienced, which means there's things you can give to other people going forward, and just experiencing it in the moment. I saw another little trippy clip that said, time is an illusion. How long is now?
As long as you make it, right? Because now could be this entire conversation. Right now, you and me talking back and forth. Or right now could be every snap.
And his whole point is time doesn't exist, and everything is all wrapped together. He said that time is an illusion that the mind creates, basically.
It's man-made to control us. Get rid of the clocks and the calendars.
I just plays into. I never know how you say when I say it. Like, you repeated this to me because I've said it to you, but words aren't real. We're just trying to make you, I'm just trying to make you feel something, and it's just trying to emote feelings. And that's what it reminds me of. Like, time's not really real. Like, it's just
Which when we talked about the financial part, scarcity is an illusion. I'm going to tell you why. I'll let you ponder on it for a second. Let that kind of squash your brain for a sec. But
before I get this,
I'm going to tell you why. So think about this. Is there a limit to the amount of atoms in existence?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
I have no idea.
Is it abundant or is it scarce?
There's a finite amount. I don't know if you would consider it abundant or scarce. There's no frame of reference because I don't believe there's another universe to compare it against.
I've heard it said that there's like quadrillion, whatever number that is.
It's very unimaginable number.
I
guess it might be infinity.
Yeah, that's not a scarce number. We tend to think in scarcity terms, but reality is there is no scarcity.
Is it back to our base human programming from like caveman days?
Right.
It's like with the tribalism and all of that, it's all tied together.
It's all back to the idea of survival.
Right.
Yes. To me, there are three parts to your brain, and this is okay. So we'll dive in here, something here in a sec. You have the hind brain, or what's called the reptilian brain, which is basically asking one question: am I safe? And that's its number one concern, because if you're not safe, nothing else matters.
Right.
The second question, once you get past safety, is it pleasurable or is it painful? And then the third question is it moral or is it right? And what's funny is a lot of times, so go back to that dopamine concept, okay? A lot of guys will use pornography as a dopamine mechanism, okay? And so they're like, okay, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to change the feeling. I'm going to discipline myself. The problem is the only reason you're going to that to begin with is because you don't feel safe. And if I can change and help you feel safe, you realize it's not a beneficial thing for you. It doesn't actually help you.
for the scarcity thing, though,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's part of the thing is like we don't mean the same word when we're saying scarcity. Because when I say scarcity, you have to have water to live,
Right.
Right, and there is only so much water. There's a finite supply of water, right?
Is there?
So, like, yes,
Okay. You're going to run out of water?
yes.
Based on what?
The fact that we are like there's water having to be imported to certain places where people live.
Okay.
And there's people dying that don't have access to fresh water.
Why does that occur? Is it truly that the water is limited or is only limited in certain places? Money.
It's only limited in certain places, but I don't feel like it matters. I feel like no matter where you would, if you were to move everybody to like one area where there's a lot of water, then it would become scarce because the amount of people in one area.
I will tell you why. I think resources become scarce because those in power live out of fear or control. They're not living out of love. Because I think if we could all come to this place that we truly lived out of a place of love, and I think that's another concept. I think love has gotten so watered down that we don't truly know what love is. But if we could all live from the most healthy place, it would never occur.
I mean, that is fair, I guess, right? Because on the water subject, you can go into like the only reason we don't sit there and desalinate the ocean is there's not price wise, it's not worth it yet.
It all boils
Right.
back down to money control.
Right. But but water is not limited. We have oceans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been a very mind-opening conversation.
Mind shifting conversation. Hey, we did it. We pulled it back in.
Yeah, you pulled it in.
Yeah.
I like Joe because Joe has this. I'm going to think about that for a while.
Well, yeah.
And I appreciate that about you because you don't just take things at face value. You're like, I'm gonna think about that, and I'm gonna ponder that, and I'm gonna.
He does.
One of my bigger victories is not to reject things immediately. It's like, okay, I need to draw this in. I'm not going to agree to anything immediately.
Right.
I'd be more likely to reject it, but I will just take it all in and we'll stir up.
Right. Yeah.
And a month from now, I'll have a thought on it. And
You're going to get a phone call.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
right. So, this is definitely the portion of the podcast where let's talk about what you do for your businesses.
Right.
Let's get you some foot traffic. Let's get you some business.
So as a daily work, what I do is I am a chiropractor that does energy and functional medicine to help people deal with all kinds of conditions from like parasites, Lyme disease. But again, what I really love to focus into is the mindset. My ultimate goal is to help them be aware of how they're thinking and how that impacts their overall health and well-being. So I do in-office treatment. What I'm working towards is I'm writing books, workbooks. I'm going to create an educational series or whatever that I can give my thought processes. I'm going to have online courses, that type of stuff as well. So that's kind of my ultimate goal is I want to move towards even doing like seminars and retreats to really be able to talk about these conversations or these type of subjects with people to help people realize how much their unconscious and subconscious thought patterns are impacting them.
That's pretty cool. And so to get a hold of you,
Get hold of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To schedule appointments.
Yes,
And
I'm at a clinic called Docere Life Center. That's DOCERE Life Center, which means teacher. It's Latin for teacher, which I think ultimately we all are teachers. It's being able to say, here's what I've experienced in life and here's what's helped me. Here you go. Use that to help yourself. If they want to get in touch with me specifically, it's Dr. Craig at Docere Life Center.
Okay.
Or they can even do Dr. Farney at gmail.com.
Okay.
So.
And you were starting into an adventure with some drinks and.
Yeah. So that's actually my cousin. So my cousin is Dr. Kyson Frank. He founded the clinic. And so I basically just use space there. But he also has a what's called Tap and Tea that does kombucha. And if you guys have ever had kombucha, Yes, no.
I'm not a fan, but
Yeah.
I've had
It's different.
Yeah. It has kind of a vinegary taste, the ones you've tasted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tappan tea, that it doesn't.
I've heard if you get to the boutique places that specialize in it, that's where it's at. I've just had some off the shelf stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard it's really good for you.
It is. It's good for the gut and the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. So yeah, that's next door to us as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. So just a shout out for them as well.
Excellent. And at what stage of progression are we on Mind Shift?
So I'm putting the podcast together. I've played around a little bit with it in the studio. That's what we're working to get. I hope to have those coming out within probably a month. It's easy for me to kind of get in a perfectionist mindset that has to be just right. And I'm starting to realize sometimes just get the content out there. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to have my podcast going, kind of like you guys did too. You want to have a little bit of a backlog so you're not going every week going, I got to get this done so that you can release those. So, yeah, I'm working on the intro, and then I've got about 9 or 10 I've already worked through, and then I've got I just started thinking of a couple other pathways I want to go into. So ultimately what I'm also creating is a corporation or an umbrella type of thing that I call quantum living. So I really am fascinated by the concept of quantum physics and the quantum field and all this type of stuff. So that's what I'm ultimately working towards, is how do we live from a different perspective? We've been taught a certain perspective, and I don't think what we've been taught is what reality is.
Breaking the programming.
It is.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I mean, there's an aspect that we already are in a matrix to a degree.
Man, I feel like if this guy was at the campfire with us, we'd be watching the sun go down and come up.
Yeah.
That's the challenge when I've been on podcasts before, is that this stuff is so deep and so far and so wide that it's hard to cover in a short time frame.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's like we get an hour and a half, 2 hours in there going, dang, where'd the time go?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
I'm excited to hear that you're doing a podcast, though. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, please do, and I'll have to have you guys get on as well.
That'd be very cool.
That'd be real cool.
Yeah. Well, maybe we do one with all three of you guys. I'll return the favor, and we'll have a conversation that way.
Heck yeah.
Break our minds.
Grill session.
Yeah. I enjoy it. To me, this is what life is really about, is having these conversations, because most of the time we don't live from this place. We just kind of talk about the superficial stuff. How's your job? How's your,
yeah,
blah, blah, blah. In fact, if you want to really, have you ever noticed if you ask somebody how you're doing, how do they answer?
With just that generic,
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah. And then when they give you an actual answer, you're like, oh God, I really wasn't.
I didn't want to know.
Jeez. Sorry I asked.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, why don't we say I'm great?
Right.
Or I'm whole? And to me, the problem with our society is we're not, there's how many people are truly great? How many people truly are whole? Well, that's the problem with our world as a whole, is because we're not great. We're not whole. We're fighting against each other. We're unhealthy. And that's what I've started to see way beyond just myself. It's the world as a whole.
Yeah.
Because if we don't find some type of way to be unified, we're going to destroy ourselves.
It's the cycle of mankind.
I was going to say, I strongly think that we probably have a few times.
Destroyed ourselves?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We're not going to start talking about the Anunnaki, are we?
Anasazi?
No. Anyways.
I think you should.
Batteries in Egypt.
That'd be, what?
Batteries in Egypt.
Yeah. Talking about, an original podcast in mind, and then other, like I have others in my brain too that are like not Joe and Co, but just, because it gets goofy fast.
Welcome to the In Weeds podcast.
Yeah.
Where we get in the weeds on whatever the hell we happen to come up with today.
And sound like probably baffling idiots, but whatever.
That's where the fun is.
Right.
I'm like, I think I'll go back to that concept of matrix. How many of us are just walking the line because this is what we're supposed to do? And
Yep.
most people are living out of what they have been taught to do. They're not really choosing their life.
I'm trying to not be the nail that sticks out as much today, but I get that.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you. Well, I don't know how much longer to go, but one other piece.
Leave us on a final thought.
Here's one of the things I love to play with the most is words. You just said something. What'd you say? I'm trying to not be the nail that sticks out. Do you know what try means?
Not doing it.
It means I'm going to give an effort and I don't expect to succeed.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll give you a couple other of my cousin and I told you we had this conversation with our headphones on earlier. It started based upon the word should. I don't use the word should because from my perspective, it's a guilt-based word that doesn't benefit us. Another word that I play with a lot is the word but. I did this, but this. To me, it wipes out the first. Mm-hmm. So it gets grammatically awkward. I use the word and instead of but because it allows both to exist. So I pay really close attention to the words that we use because your words are directives from the brain to the body. So don't try. This is why I get called Yoda.
Yeah.
Just do.
Yeah.
Well,
That's cool.
He's like the Rastafari Yoda, the whole I and I concept.
Yeah.
There's no you and I because that creates a difference, that concept.
I like it.
Yeah.
I lost it. What do you use instead of should? Use ought or
Could or choose. I choose. To me, I'll tell you the most powerful phrase you can ever use is I choose.
Pikachu, I choose. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I used to say I want, and then I was on a conversation or this Zoom thing with somebody that was doing work for me, and she was helping me, and she said, when you say the phrase I want, that means you're lacking. So I don't even use I want anymore. I'll use the word I desire because that's a feeling as opposed to a state. If I love the phrase I choose. It is the most powerful thing because if we go back to inner parent, inner child, and you go to the should as opposed, and I don't want to, because your brain's going, oh, I should do this and I should do that and I should do this. And the other part goes, I don't want to. I choose ties those two together because I'm taking into account the wisdom of the inner parent and the desire of the inner child. And I'm putting them together and go, I choose this.
I like it.
All right, awesome. Thanks. We're done. I think we're done.
I think so.
Okay.
Man.
Was that long enough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got our time filled.
Yeah.
Lately.
Subscribe, share,
Comment.
send it to your grandma.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you
It was
so
a
much
lot
for
of fun.
coming on.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Out.
See ya.